His promise, just to know, thus saith the Lord.
Hey guys, and welcome to TalkBox with Oktavists. I'm here with bass singer Casey Armstrong. Now, please introduce yourself, sir.
Well, my name is Casey Armstrong. I am I'm retired. I just recently last year retired from the U.S. Army Chorus out of Washington, D.C. I now live in Knoxville, Tennessee, where I'm freelancing. Well, I was freelancing up until the first weekend in March, as you can imagine. But yeah, no, so I'm in Knoxville, Tennessee, freelancing as a bass vocalist, soloist, ringer, whatever, you know. I manage a quartet part-time, gospel quartet. We can talk more about that later, but yeah, man, just digging, just keeping busy down here with my family and doing whatever I need to do here to feed the kids.
Now, Mr. Casey Armstrong is very humble, but he's well known in the Southern gospel world as a great bass. I'm sure if you've seen his videos on YouTube of him singing or giving bass tips, it's one of the biggest YouTube videos for bass singing tips, I believe. If you look it up, I believe it has around a lot of views, thousands of views, I think, last time I checked.
For with Matt Fouch, yeah. So yeah, Matt Fouch actually, you know, he sings with Legacy 5. He's the bass singer. I know he's part of this group, and he does a lot of cool, sort of like you. He does a lot of really cool videos and interviews with mostly Southern gospel bass singers, and we hit it off pretty good at the convention. There's a quartet convention in Pigeon Forge, and he asked me to like talk to the folks about like how I bridge the gap between like quartet singing and choral singing, solo singing, you know, trained voice versus, you know, kissing a mic kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I did my best on that. I mean, what's funny is, man, it's like that was the first time anybody ever asked me like, so what is it you do, man? Like between two techniques, and I don't know. I just say, you know, just try to get it done. So, but yeah, that's what you were talking about is the interview with Matt Fouch.
Yes. Yes. So, now, a question that I got a lot for every single interview that I've had is, but I haven't been able to ask it to anybody yet, is how do you sing bass to make it more full and rich? Now, I know it's different for you singing with a mic and singing chorally. Could you give an example for both?
I would say, like, man, when when you're singing unplugged, bass baritones, we always get, our inner ear loves the way we sound, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That, like we sound really awesome, man. Like this is awesome. But and so when you're singing to yourself, your inner ear will tell you, it's like the good angel saying, yeah, man, you're awesome. You're on. You're spot on. You're great. And then, well, actually, it's the devil. I guess it's the devil telling you. And you listen to the recording, and you're like, whoa. So I think, it's easy to try to get too wolfy, right? It's easy to swallow sound like, instead of, people like, you can kind of warm it up and you kind of fake it. And chorally, dude, listen, I'm all about the tricks, because as in an ensemble, and this because of the sounds you make too, man. It's like, an ensemble wise, it's like, it's not weird. It's not, you want to like beef it up and warm it up. But I had a teacher, he was always saying, he was like, listen, he was like, Casey, your bass baritone, when I was younger, your sound is dark no matter what. Don't try to make it darker. It's already there.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to confuse you for a tenor, like no matter how hard you try. So let it be what it is. Maybe I know, I heard Glenn, you talked to Glenn Miller, and he was talking about not pushing, just take it, not pushing too soon or too hard too soon. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I think if it's, as long as it's not hurting, you know, you're not bleeding, you know, you could probably keep doing it. But I don't know. And then on a microphone, you know, the mic is your friend. What I try to do, the big terminology in Southern Gospel world is the cut. They talk about cut. And think about when you're singing in a Southern Gospel quartet, whether it's with a live band or with a track, typically it's with like a pretty full, you know, accompaniment track.
Yeah.
And in order to be heard over this, you know, whether it's the bass guitar or upright bass strings, whatever the bass, you know, keyboard bass, whatever you're competing with as a bass singer, these guys are like, you know, they'll get in there and like, and they talk about they get it in the mask, they get it. Tim Riley, I don't know if you've seen any of his stuff.
I've seen a couple, yes.
Chris West is like, man, one of his, he sings with Gold City now. Chris West is great at this, but getting up in the schnoz, if you will, in the mask, and it will cut. Now, I will tell you, I'm not gonna give any names, but I love in-ear monitors. When you're singing on a mic, I love them. I use one typically live. I use one because I want to hear the stage. I want to hear the real sound, and I want to hear.
Yeah.
But so this one particular night, I was sharing the stage, our quartet, with two other quartets, and we were using the upper tier quartet, like we were like the middle tier group, and we were using the big boys sound system. And I was wearing a pack that was on the same frequency as their bass singer. And first of all, he's a great bass singer, don't get me wrong, but I was amazed at, like, when you hear the isolated vocals, it was like you know, it's like this, like almost like a Muppet kind of a stuff going on, because it was just a lot of vowels, you know. Again, he's sitting against this big track. You've probably seen enough quartet stuff to know. I mean, it's massive. And sometimes in the big choruses, there's stacks in there already. You know, they're singing with themselves, if you will. There's a lot of tricks. But I was just, anyway, I'm amazed at, like, listening to the vocals, the true vocals. And it's like, whoa, like, there's what words is that? I don't even know what. And honestly, that's just a trick, because it will cut, you know, it's like the placement, put it where you can and sacrifice maybe some vowels just to get that, the cut that they're after. So that's something that, you know, if you're singing a cappella, that's not the case. You want to be truer with everything.
Yeah.
But there's all kinds of things. I'm one, I said this in the video that you referenced. For me, I wish I could say that, hey man, here's the checklist that I do before I perform, and that works, and I'm going to go for it. But it's not, man. Like, I think every day is its own negotiation and its own challenge, because I don't care whether you're dealing with pollen or you're dealing with, you know, COVID. No, I'm just kidding. You're dealing with, you know, any kind of congestion or cough or inflammation, drainage, all this stuff. I mean, it all comes into play and it all jacks you up. And you have to overcome. I mean, I said it there. I was like, sometimes that may not mean going for it, you know, because the people don't care if you're singing an A flat 1 or a, you know, or you know, or an A flat 2, and then come back down to the D flat. You know, it's like they don't care. It's just when the speakers are, you know, going there. Anyway, I'm a bit when I'm on a microphone, I love to take the breadth of the sound. Like, I want to hear it warm and fuzzy more than I want to hear. I want to hear through the microphone, because it's just like thunder. Sometimes there's less accuracy, right? But it's just warmth that just this blanket through the subs that, man, just like, I don't know, gets you amped up. If you're singing a solo, just be George Yant's great Southern gospel bass, Eric Bennett, who has followed in his footsteps. There's a handful of these guys they're just like, just be a good singer. They're like, don't freaking worry about notes. Just be a good singer. Just sing a good line. Just sing a good phrase, man. Just like, and I dig that because, whether they're singing mid bass clef to, just barely off the bass clef, they're going to sound like champs if they're just singing, full. And again, it's only the kind of the dorks like us that are on this channel that are like, they're going to their keyboard like, yeah, baby. Yeah, man. Woo! So, but the people don't know any better. They're just like, man, you're the best bass I've ever heard. I mean, that's what they tell every bass every night, pretty much. So, just sing, man. Just sing nice, and if you're, I always say if it passes the grandma test, then you're probably on track. Like if your grandma wants to hear it, if she'll smile, if you can make your grandma smile, keep doing it. If not, chances are not many other people are going to. That's silly, but
yeah. All right. So now you sang in the United States Army Chorus. Now, what was your favorite part about that experience?
Oh, dude. Okay. So yeah, 20 years, in the military choruses. My first 5 years, I was in the Air Force Singing Sergeants, which is the Air Force Chorus, SATB. And when I was there were 24 voices and one accompanist and one conductor. And then I did 5 years there. And then I switched over to the Army Men's Chorus. Why? Because it was all dudes, man. It was it's the only all-male chorus left. It is less touring. Almost everything that the Army Chorus does is in DC. We were starting a family, so it was like, okay, I won't be on the road as much. That was important to us. There's less drama, as you can imagine, when it's like all dudes. There's less questions. After rehearsals, there's less questions. Anybody got any questions? You're like, all right, we'll see you tomorrow. So anyway, but my favorite part throughout the entire 20 years was, first of all, the military bands are there to honor the fallen. I mean, that's their primary goal. I mean, that's like what we're there for. Even though I personally didn't stand and sing in Arlington Cemetery, I can count on one hand the amount of times that we did that. The band was do that. The chorus usually was in indoors. But that's why we exist, right? And we're there to honor the fallen. We're there to encourage, just soothe, just bring peace or soothing balm to those that have lost, spouses, family, it doesn't matter, children, parents. And then you keep going down the list, and then we're there to give esprit de corps, which means we're there to entertain our troops, right? Like, so there's USO tours, there's trips. Every service band will send people overseas wherever there's conflict, and perform for their own. And that's typically a little bit further than like the USO tour rep would do. The USO tours would, grab like a wrestler, like a Dallas cheerleader, and like comedian and an actor, and they go to the big places. But the military bands can go a step further because they're carrying, like they're strapped on, they've got weapons. So esprit de corps, and then you come down, and then we're just there to entertain the people, you guys. We're kind of like, our goal is to bridge the gap between a frontline soldier and Joe Q public, right? So, And I always tell people, I'm like, our job is not to have answers. Like, so what do you think about this? What do you think about that? What do you think about this topic? This is not our job. Our job is to sing good music, or, you know, to perform good music for the people and to bridge that gap. So I just told you kind of what we did as a career, but my favorite part was being a part in 2004, being a part of Reagan's funeral at National Cathedral, which was, it was a joint service chorus with the Marine Band Orchestra. All the living presidents were there on the front row. I don't know how old were you in 2004? Dare I ask?
4.
You probably remember it. I don't know. Do you remember Reagan? Okay. Anyway, so, but it was awesome. Trust me. But yeah, man, we sang. So we sang for Reagan's funeral, and then I was in the Air Force then. And then fast forward, I was in Army Chorus, and we sang for President Ford's funeral up in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And not long after that, we sang for First Lady Ford's. It was like almost exactly the same kind of thing, but just on a smaller scale. For her funeral, we sang for 2 years ago. We sang for Bush's funeral, graveside out in College Station, Texas. So that was 18. Was that December 18, 2018? That was pretty awesome. That was not televised, but it was just family, chaplains, you know, the body bearers. There was a Navy firing team, Navy bugler, and Army Chorus sang. We sang 2 hymns, their graveside, boom, like right there, you know, where Barbara already was. And so those state funerals were definitely highlights. But I mean, second to that, I mean, we sang for every president, you know. I joined, and Clinton was still president when I joined in '99. So I've sung for, you know, Clinton, Bush, Obama, and Trump. So I've sung for all those guys at the White House. They all kind of engage us differently for different parties and stuff, but they all use us, you know, different bands and stuff. Can I give a couple of White House highlights?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So in 2006, the Queen of England came to the U.S. and President George W. Bush gave he gave a state dinner for her, which is, you know, white tie affair. So there was a dinner, and we were part of the after dinner entertainment. In fact, we were closers. We came in and did the battle hymn, Wilhowsky battle hymn. Wilhowsky is kind of the standard battle hymn. So we came in and did that at the end. I mean, we were in 2 rows in the East Room. Everyone was seating. It was kind of recital style. But like right in the front row, man, was like, okay, President Bush, Laura Bush, Nancy Reagan, the Queen, Prince Philip, the Cheneys. And it was just like everybody was there. I remember seeing Peyton Manning's like head sticking up out of the crowd with the bow tie. It was all kinds of people were there. And so we come out and sing this thing, and it was unplugged. It was like probably about 24, 26 guys, 2 rows with piano. And I will tell you, like, our softs were very extremely soft, but our loud, man, we ended with the Amen, 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 Amen. And at the end of but man, it was so stinking loud. Like toupees were flying off in the White House. It was like, shoo, shoo. And this is my favorite part, mind you. So we were told when we were finished singing, we were like, okay, you guys hold still. The president's going to motion for the Queen, and he's going to walk her out into the lobby. Then you guys will turn and go over to the room next door there in the front. And so we were waiting for that. Well, she stood up and went and made a beeline for our conductor, which was not in the script. You know, it was like, so she comes over and she's like, she extends her hand to him. And he's like, shaking her hand like, what do you do to the queen, right? You're supposed to bow, you curtsy. So anyway, he's shaking her hand. Prince Philip, man, he comes over to the bass baritones on our side, and he's a jokester, apparently. He's always joking around. So Prince Philip comes up to the bass baritones on our side, and he goes, it seems after all that you would have blisters on your vocal cords. So that was his way of saying, man, that was loud. And it was. Anyway, so yeah, the state funerals, all those kind of high profile, DC White House gigs.
Yeah.
Ironically, kind of one of my favorite high profile gigs was I arranged, before I got out, it was like 2 years before I got out, I arranged Army Chorus to go to my kids' elementary school, man.
Oh, nice.
So, so you got all three of my kids in this elementary school, and we come in and we just freaking do our thing, right? And they're like, these kids are like, what is happening? Like, because we did some Bruno Mars, we did some Beach Boys, it wasn't all hoity-toity stuff. It was, it was a mixed bag. But that was probably one of the highlights is, just singing for my kids and letting them see, like, here's what your dad did, it's like, so that was fun. But sorry to go on and on about that, but man,
that's fine.
I missed it. I missed the gig. I'm not gonna lie. I missed the opportunities. I don't miss DC. I don't miss DC. No, I'm so glad I'm not in DC right now. But anywho, do you have any questions about the Army Chorus?
No. I think it's awesome. I saw there was actually, I think there's a post on the group about joining it, I believe.
Yeah, Heath Sorensen, another monster, man. That dude is so great. He's 6'7", and he sounds every bit of what he is. I got to sing beside him for 2 years. I was the section leader before I left, and he's now the section leader. And I don't think they filled my slot yet. I think that's the bass slot he's talking about. But there's a baritone. There's openings. I encourage anybody that's in this group to send a tape in, man. This is a gig. This is a job. I sang bass in a choir for 20 years and got paid well. I have a retirement right now. I have a pension. That's why I'm not. So I bought a house in Knoxville on my pension. It's like, so it's a real thing. It's not a joke. And you can audition first. You don't have to join the military before you audition. So you don't have to make that commitment first. So I encourage you, if anybody, and I'm sure Heath will continue posting stuff like that, but check it out. It's such a great job. And honestly, if there's a bass position or baritone position in any of the choruses, they're all great. The Navy Sea Chanters, the Air Force Singing Sergeants. The Army has a mixed chorus called the Soldiers Chorus, which is SATB, 28 voice. The band that I was in also has a small group called Army Voices, which is, I think, 10 SATB, small group. They have a bass right now, but you never know. These guys, some stay, some don't. So check it out. It's a great gig.
For sure. Now, the next question. Do you believe using a microphone is cheating? Now,
No.
I've had a couple of conversations now with Matt Spriggs and Richard Harris in the group. Now, what's your opinion on it?
No, it's not cheating. We talked about before, so many of the groups that use, I was just looking at a post, think of Pentatonics. I listen with a critical ear. I know there's, obviously they're a cappella, but there's some stacks going on in there, or even when there's not stacks at times, I think, I can't say that there is for sure, but even when there's not, the volume is just so loud. He wouldn't be heard standing up there he would look awesome, but he wouldn't be heard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So No, I don't think it's. I think here's the deal with that. I think if you can produce a pitch, I don't care how you're producing it. And and you've squeezed out some crazy notes, dude. I'm not, I've been watching you enough to know that. But I don't care how it gets there. If it can be heard and it's a pitch, good for you. High five. I like what Eric said, to you the other day. It was like, man, just like if people dig it, if you're putting a smile on people's faces, then keep doing it. If grandma likes it, keep doing it. So no, I don't think using a mic is cheating. I think here's the deal. I think there's a time and place for everything. I mean, trust me, probably 40-50% of my gigs are off mic, is in an ensemble setting, or whether I'm soloing Brahms Requiem, or if I'm doing a quartet solos in a mass or something, choral mass or choral work, or oratorio, of course. Any of those solo stuff, obviously I'm unplugged. They may have a recording mic, catching stuff, but so therefore I use it. I will project. I mean, of course, typically you're not singing. That's it's rare that you go below the staff. I know there's guys on here that are sharing stuff that's stuff that was written for that, anything below the staff than that in style. Dude, listen, but you've been in different spaces even at your age to know that there's spaces that will eat that up.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that will help that will resonate in that. I mean, that will project that stuff. But then there's spaces, it's like, don't even bother, it's much to, take a low D down or a low C down as much as I want to. It's like, why bother? It's not even going to be heard because this space is such a sponge.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, if you're singing a style that is on a mic, well, use it. Take advantage of it. I mean, I can't imagine. Can you imagine, like, thus said the Lord of hosts, yet once a little while, and I will say, it's like, no. Actually, it would be awesome, though. But yeah, man, it's just, I don't think using the mic's cheating.
For sure. Now, the next question is, have you sung the all-night vigil? And if not, do you plan to?
Absolutely, I have. I've only sung it 3 times with 3 different ensembles. The first time I sung it was with the National Philharmonic Chorus in D.C. With Stan Engelbrecht. Anyway, so it was a great performance. I mean, it was a great venue. We sang, I want to say it was a Strathmore. Anyway, it was a great hall, great group. Here's the crazy part. I didn't care because I got my check, right? I don't care. I mean, I didn't really care about this. But the crazy part was there was 100 plus in the choir. Around about 100. Pardon me.
Go ahead.
Around about 100. And he hired 3 bass 3s or whatever. He hired 3 basses that had those shops to counter 97 people or whatever. So now, granted, and he brought them back, and again, we were in a good space. I remember listening to the recording that was online or that was in an email or whatever. It was pretty rough. It wasn't, but it was there. It was there. But I believe I want this, man, pyramid effect in a choir.
Yeah.
And fortunately, I guess that's never going to happen because we're always outnumbered by the girls, which is good if you're dating, right? If you're in the zone. But yeah, it's just like 3 dudes. Really, I mean, now granted, they were great, man. They were good guys. It was me. You probably, these are guys that aren't on this thing, but it was Me, this guy named Albie Powell, who's also retired from the Army Chorus. Albie Powell, that dude has sung Porgy all over the world. In every opera house that's an opera house, he's sung Porgy in it. But he's got these stupid, so he's got the G's or whatever, Porgy.
Yeah.
I think there's G's. He's got that up top, but he's got G1s. It's stupid. So I got to sit beside him for 13 years in Army Chorus. So it's me, Albie Powell, and this guy named Gene Kay. Gene Kay is retired Army Signal Corps. So he was in communications in the Army, did not sing in the Army Chorus, Army band, but he's a comm guy. Like, he still works in DC, but he's a musician. He's always played piano, he sings, and he's a freak of a bass. And I've sung in a bunch of groups in DC with him, Gene Kay. Both those guys, great guys. But yeah, so that was the first time. The second time I sang with a smaller group down in Lexington, Virginia, called the Rockbridge Choral Society. Also it was a very good performance. I think it was a little ambitious for them, but I was hired. I was one of two in that group, two basses that showed up. But it's one of those groups that kind of fund itself.
Yeah.
And they're just like, let's do this. So I respect the fact that they're just like going for this.
Yeah.
Even though there was one or two movements in that piece that was like, here we go. But all in all, they pulled it off. It was great. I got to do that. That was fun. Anyway, I got to do that. And the third one was most recent, was down in, it was a combination choir in Chattanooga. The bulk of it was a Chattanooga Bach consort, Chattanooga Bach choir. And again, that was me, Albie. I got Albie that gig. We drove down. And this guy named Ted Saltis, man. Ted Saltis, Theodore Saltis. He's on Facebook. He's not in this group. He needs to be. And I just saw him the other day. He's a doctor. Like, I don't even know what he is. I don't even know what kind of doctor he is, because all I know. But he sang with Shaw, with Glenn.
Oh, nice.
I want to say, I think he sang, not 20, but he sang 15 to 20 seasons with Shaw.
Oh, nice.
In Atlanta, from out of Chattanooga. He would drive down. It's like an hour and a half. And so the funny thing is, this guy's a monster. I mean, he is so loud and just, he's 60 something, but still, he's just like, I just wanted to like hold, like just kind of hold his thigh and just be like, I love you, man. No, but he's such a good, but what's funny is he told me when he sang with Shaw, check this out. So Shaw's group he had 12 splits. He was real adamant about the numbers and the parts and stuff. So he had 12 bass twos, and Ted was, and the lowest was Glenn, I think, at 1. He told me Glenn was no 1. It was Glenn. Ted was 12 out of the 12. So he just barely made the bass 2 cut.
Oh, really? Wow.
And so I'm like, if I've heard Glenn, I've heard Ted, I'm like, what is,
Yeah, what's in the middle?
So anyway, this guy Ted was great. And in fact, we on that particular performance, we used Shaw's handwritten score of the Vespers.
Oh, really?
So it had all these markings. So we're singing this handwritten copy of the Vespers, and I show up in Chattanooga, and I'm reading this thing, and I'm like, I'm standing next to Ted, and Albie's here, and I'm like, gosh, I should have brought my score, man. This is so much easier to read than all this chicken scratch. I didn't know what it was. And Ted's like, well, that was Shaw's copy that I brought up to this group he was like, I actually brought that to the group so they could, I was like, oops. It's like, remove my mouth. So the guy who brought this score in was standing next to me, and I was griping about it. Anyway, that's how it worked out. It's not on my playlist in my car. I'm not going to lie. I'm not that much of a dork. No, but it is beautiful, and I love doing it, and I would do it, guys, listen, I'm for hire. Anybody, whatever, just give me a ring. We'll make it happen. But no, I would do it again in a heartbeat. That's for sure. It's a good, great, beautiful work.
Now, growing up, who is your favorite bass singer to listen to?
Okay. So let me prep you for this. So I didn't sing in high school.
Really?
I didn't sing in high school choir, like grade school. I sang in youth choir at church. So in school, I was a trumpet player. I was a band nerd, like hardcore band nerd. And it was really hard for us to do both in my high school. So I was committed to marching band, and I sang at church, but that was because of the trips and the girls that were, again, this ratio is like 3 to 1.
Yeah.
Like a Beach Boys song. 2 girls forever. So in high school, I dated a girl, I dated a preacher's daughter, a Pentecostal preacher's daughter. And we're still friends to this day. We dated for about 2 years, and I went to school, and she went to, we would split ways. But
yeah,
she gave me my first, this was a cassette tape, mind you, but she gave me my first cassette tape of the Cathedrals. So that's George Yonts, bass singer. She gave me my first cassette tape of Gold City, which is Tim Riley.
Yeah.
And honestly, and I love that. Because I grew up rural North Carolina. I wasn't a big country fan, believe it or not. My dad listened to doo-wop and stuff. But anyway, so, and she also gave me my first tape of the group called Acapella out of Tennessee. It's a Church of Christ group.
Oh, yes. It
Acapella,
has
Keith Lancaster, Rodney Britt.
Yeah, Rodney Britt. Yeah. The guy's a beast.
So the first cassette, so I've got Rodney Britt on this tape, George Johnson and Tim Riley. So those were my first three, but I really, it was Rodney Britt that and that early on acapella was a lot more, I mean, they kind of come full circle. It was their performance was more true four part. Because there were a lot of tapes that they did later on, a lot of albums that were just so stacked. I was just like, it was just overwhelming. Like, I don't know. I want to hear just 4 dudes singing 4 parts or 6, like one on a part. I mean, studio, I don't mind stacking in the studio. I don't mind layering and stuff. But when if you're an acapella group and you're going out and singing acapella music, it's like, I don't know, just maybe we could just sing a cappella in 4 parts. But anyway, that group was awesome, and I loved, Rodney Britt. I've never met him. I've met George and Tim, but I've never met Rodney Britt. But I'm watching some of the stuff they're doing now, and he's still got it.
He's still a monster. I remember I used to, and I still listen to a lot of Southern gospel, but there was a period of time where I just was like, yes, that's the stuff. And Rodney Britt was my top guy. Why Me Lord was my favorite recording I listened to of him, where it's just like, oh my goodness, what is this guy, a monster? Because I've heard different versions, but his voice was so full and rich. It was like, wow, is he actually using a microphone? Because it just sounds like that guy's just blasting it out.
Yeah, well, the first, I want to say the first 2, maybe 3 projects that Keith Lancaster did it was just him and Rodney Britt. I don't know if you've seen those early ones.
I haven't.
So the first, I want to say, I know for sure the first 2, maybe 3, but they did, the entire album was just those 2 guys singing all the parts. Wow. So, they couldn't necessarily tour, but they were just recording. And I think he was prepping to have a quartet. But, and I get that because I did a lot of prep work for mine too. But Rodney Britt. Those were the first 3 guys that I listened to on recording. The first hero that I had, standing next to somebody, was this man, also not on here. He should be, but his name's Bill Dixon. And Bill Dixon, again, he's a 6'7" bass. He went to Samford University, SAM. It's a small school in Alabama, Samford University. And he was a Junaluska singer, which is Lake Junaluska. It's a Methodist camp in North Carolina. But anyway, I did some sessions with him. I did 2 sessions in 97 with him. You know, I'm 6'1", but he's 6'7", and it's like, I think I was recorded, you know, because we shared a mic. So, you know, like the microphone was like up there. It was like, you know, Bill was on the end because he's a stud, and I was like second to the end because I was the second to the stud. And I think I got picked up by the microphone, but I wasn't sure. No, but he's so, again, it's like just this warmth, incredible choral bass. Anyway, and he's just a solid singer. I wish I'll have to share some of his stuff on here at some point.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So the vocal fry, yes, it's valid. Whatever. I mean, I'm not a big. I would not use it as a. I don't think I would use it as a soloist, but in an ensemble, especially quartet, and yeah, I don't have a problem. I mean, if you can control it and you can put it where it needs to be when it needs to be there.
Yeah.
When I fry, I will tell you, I don't sing down to it. I just tank up and hit it. That's my preferred. I mean, it's funny. I can slur. I can roll an octave or 2 octaves if you start right. I can roll down to it without any breaks. Well, through the breaks. But if I try to sing down to it, it's not as strong. So I prefer to, you know, if it needs to be bigger, I prefer to just tank up and just come in. And even ensemble, if I'm using that in an ensemble setting, I'll sit out the penultimate or something and just come in.
I see.
I know you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Because everybody does it.
Yeah. So we're gonna wrap up soon. So tell me more about the King's Cadence before we finish up.
All right. So King's Cadence. So like cadence, like a marching cadence. So it's a gospel quartet. We do sing secular music. We do wop. We've done some oldies. We've done some stuff for different events. We're for hire. As long as it's not offensive, I'm going to do it. Because there's great music everywhere. There's inspirational music everywhere. And our big thing is, yes, we're Christian. We are a Christian ensemble. But you know, I mean, I'll sing about anything, you know, especially if it's for hire. But if it's not about Christ, if it's not about God, whether it's the Vespers or whether it's oratorio, I mean, if it's not sacred song, it's empty to me. You know, it's like, I mean, it can be fun. Don't get me wrong. I mean, listen, I'm jamming to all kinds of secular music all the time. But as far as like, and it could be, you know, uplifting music. I mean, but as far as like what do I think about all the time? What do I want to sing? It's sacred music. It's the gospel. So that's kind of what King's Cadence came from. So King's Cadence is just a quartet. I've always loved quartet music. I've been a part of Promised Land Quartet it was part-time, even when I was up in DC. That was a juggle. I was singing with them on the weekends while I was in Army Chorus. It was tricky. But King's Cadence is built up of 3 other buddies that I've known for years that are also in Tennessee. And I mean, our tenor's a realtor. I mean, tenor's a financial planner. The lead's a realtor. Baritone is a choral director up the road here in Greenville, Tennessee. So they all kind of work except for me. I mean, I'm the one. But you know, we go out. We sing primarily at churches, and I don't know. I mean, we're not as young. We're not like a particular style yet. We're just kind of. The thing is, I've spent my entire life being a jack of all trades, master of none, sort of, or master of. No, jack of all trades, master of some. I changed it. But yeah, I mean, there's things that I have no business singing, but this group's pretty versatile, and I love them for it. And they can. The other thing is they can read. They can all read music,
Oh, that's
which
good.
which is not typical. Dude, there's a ton of incredible singers that don't read or look at music. You know this, and that's cool. I love them. I love them for it. But I just like the fact that we're able to do something kind of last minute, or whether we're holding it or not. You know, we can do stuff in
Yeah.
a recording session. We can actually like record without having to like practice, and so anyway, King's Cadence is my baby. It's what I think about, and I can't wait to get back out there. Our August dates have not been canceled yet, so that's exciting. But kingscadence.com, check it out. And I might share some of the vids. I've got some stuff on there. I mean,
yeah, definitely.
I showed off a little bit on some things. But yeah, man, I mean, and as far as, you asked, we skipped it, but so how does faith, I mean, that's what it is. I mean, for me, that's all it is.
Yeah.
One of the things I like about King's Cadence, I've sung with groups that don't want to do any secular music. And that's great. But here's the deal. What if somebody comes to the table to buy a Bridge Over Troubled Water, or You Raise Me Up, or, you know what I mean? Some inspirational song, and they take home some Jesus with them.
Yeah.
And what if that reaches them, man? What if that's what they needed? You know what I mean? Like, they're going to put that CD in if they still got a CD player. They're going to put that thumb drive in, or whatever, and they're going to, I don't know, maybe they'll hear some good news. That's all it is. That's my hope. That's my prayer for anybody that's listening to anything that I do. I mean, so yeah, definitely. Man, that's important. Right. It's a calling. It's what I've wanted to do for years, and we finally get to do it as soon as we can start having concerts again. Oh man.
All right. So here at TalkBox with Oktavists, we have a tradition of asking the interviewee, what is your lowest note?
Okay, so before I get my pitch pipe out too, I saw you getting your uke out. So I do know that I've recorded with Promised Land Quartet on a song called When I Make It to the Other Side, which is out there. But at the end of that, I recorded an E flat one. It's ugly. It is, and it's a pride. It's a pride. And I wouldn't have. Sorry, that's the E. I wouldn't have. I was goofing off in the studio, but he kept it. It's fine. I'm cool. But King's Cadence, the lowest I've recorded is an F at the end of Mansions of the Lord, which is a patriotic hymn. So I've sung an F1. I think it's prettier than the E flat.
The mansions of the Lord.
So, but I've also, and I don't even know where I'll be tonight, but but I've also recorded my first solo project. I recorded an A flat to the 4, like a tenor A flat. And so on the same, and then, but on the same recording, I did like backup vocal. I just ruined it by singing. my fat thumb. So I think it's A flat here, right? I don't know. Is that close? So I don't know, man. Sorry to goof off there, but
No, that's fine. All right, guys. Thank you so much. And it's late for both me and especially for Mr. Casey Armstrong. I hope you guys enjoyed this interview. Peace out.